One second.
All right, Keith, we are live.
All right, guys. We are live. This is Sherdog.com recap show for UFC 266. I'm your host. My name is Shillan. Joining me as always is the senior editor of Sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, man. I am electrified. What a card.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a really late start. We had some technical difficulties. Or better off, we were just on Brian Ortega time. So Ben, I'll get right into it. We had an absolute loaded card. We had two title fights where the champion both retained in both matchups, and then we had the people's main event. We had Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler get an absolute slugfest. Tiffany tells us I am echoing. I think that's because I had our stream going. Is it better now, Tiffany? Please let us know, because we had some technical difficulties on my side. I tried fixing it, and Ben came. Today, I think we might be good. Let's get right into it in the main event. Two former tough season of tough battled it out. Alex Volkanovski winning unanimous decision over Brian Ortega. One thing that Daniel Cormier said in the post-fight interview was, "It's time for people to put some respect on his name." Ben. Does he have what respect does he have? How high should we be getting? How high should we be thinking of Alex Volkanovski?
I'm not sure where everybody's coming from with that. Put respect on his name. Who was not respecting this man's name? I mean, he's the best featherweight on the planet. He's one of the best featherweights ever. I don't want to dive right now into where I think he falls on that list, but I mean, maybe for the people who thought he lost the second Holloway fight and we're just kind of waiting for a prove-it moment as a champ, well, now we have like a completely unambiguous title defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So absolutely. Let me say this. Alex Volkanovski, he won 2 fights against Max Holloway. He clearly won the first one. The second one, a little bit more controversial. Still probably outpointed him. But the his third title fight in the division, he takes out Brian Ortega. He's now on a 20-fight winning streak. He has one loss in his career. He doesn't have the same respect that Khabib Nurmagomedov carries because Khabib was undefeated. But if the judges see Gleison Tebow as a winner over Khabib Nurmagomedov, he doesn't carry the same respect. Should we look at Alex Volkanovski like we look at, say, these all-time great champions that we've had? We've had, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Khabib. He beat Max Holloway back-to-back fights and then just absolutely decimated Brian Ortega.
Well, the only thing that he's missing right now is just more defenses, because it's a lot of the same complaint that a lot of people, including myself, have about Khabib's resume. The undefeated record obviously is amazing to look at, but the fact is, for the first half of those 29, 30 fights that he won, he was fighting not very good fighters. Then he got to the UFC level, and because he was a little bit injury prone, and because there wasn't a whole lot of flavor to him, it took him a while to work his way up to fighting the very best of the best. So really, he won his last 7 or 8 fights against contender level fighters. That's the real crux of what his resume is built on. And Volkanovski, will be in that same department with a couple more defenses over deserving challengers, and then from there, maybe he'll pass Khabib. Maybe we'll be talking about him with the Joneses and the GSPs.
Okay, so you're saying the same thing as Austin saying, like, maybe I shouldn't go that far yet. But how about this? He might not be in the legendary status of a guy like Anderson Silva who had, whatever. I'm just making, was it like 10 title defenses in a row? Demetrius Johnson, one of these. But what about right now? Is he the best fighter in the UFC right now?
I
Pound for
I
pound.
well, I think your best fighter in the UFC was in the co-main event, but if we're even going to split it between the
Sorry,
genders,
male. Yeah,
even splitting it
gender
between
wise.
the genders, I'd still put Kamaru Usman a little ahead of him.
Is he in the
Oh, he's
club?
absolutely in the club. He's probably in the top three. He's a dominant fighter in one of the two hardest divisions in which to dominate.
Does Alec Volkanovski have a Demetrius Johnson feel to you? And what I don't mean by winning, record-setting title defenses, but in that champion that's so dominant, but it's going to have a very hard time marketing.
Well, maybe because I could never understand why it was so hard to market Demetrius Johnson. I thought he was an interesting interview. I thought he was a quirky personality. He had a lot of things about him that the UFC could have leveraged. Just the fact that he was an esports guy before we even had a name for it. He was just a little guy that played a lot of Xbox and wore an Xbox t-shirt on the way to the cage until the UFC banned outside sponsors.
Yeah.
So I think he should be marketable, but then again, I couldn't understand why the UFC had such a hard time selling DJ. So
Yeah. So Austin's saying the same thing. He's saying that he's agreeing with you that Volkanovski should be number two. I agree. Like, if people are making the pound for pound, we've already moved John Jones out of the pound for pound rankings due to just plain old inactivity. He also obviously had a very tough week this week getting arrested. To me, Volkanovski has to at least be number two. Like, anything lower than number two in the pound for pound rankings is probably disrespecting this man. Like, who has? I mean, he only has beaten two guys in the as a champion. He's beaten Max Holloway and Brian Ortega, but there's nobody in line right now for a title shot other than guys he's already beaten. Like, he's kind of already cleaned out his division because of how many fights he had to win to even get there.
That's exactly it. And I know we're probably going to get to matchmaking here pretty soon, and that's kind of the problem. He's cleaned things out a bit. It just stings again that the UFC decided to do two max fights in a row.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the actual fight. So we had a fight that was pretty close on paper. It was pretty close on the betting odds. I know I got a lot more messages from the casual fans than usual because, Nick Diaz being on the card. And when people talked about the main event, I had more people taking Brian Ortega.
That's interesting.
And I'm talking strictly from the casual. I'm not talking about on Twitter. I'm not talking about media members. I know overwhelmingly more people went with Volkanovski, who are the insiders. But to the casual, it seemed like Brian Ortega had a lot more buzz on my side.
Well,
Did you get the same feel, or?
I can't tell because 90% of the questions I got were about Nick Diaz. So
Sure, fair
but
enough.
Brian
True.
Ortega
Same
is
thing.
like the good-looking surfer guy from the Modelo ads, who also got on TMZ for punching out Korean zombies translator. So
Yeah.
like, just Volkanovski doesn't have any of that yet. I say yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully he never has some of it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think Volkanovski is going to be that Demetrius Johnson, where he's going to be the champion for a long time, and they're not going to want him to be. And I was with you. I never understood why they had trouble marketing Demetrius Johnson. He didn't have the big trash talker personality. Volkanovski, even though he tried really trash talking it didn't feel genuine. It seemed like what would Demetrius Johnson would have done if he tried trash talking. To me, it's a streak. To me, you don't market Volkanovski, but you market the streak. You market 20 wins in a row. You market who can stop this. It's Joe DiMaggio hit streak. It's the holy cow, this guy's won 20 in a row. Like, that's what I market.
And all it would really take is for the right nemesis to come along as well. I mean, we've been talking about Khabib this whole time. Khabib was a guy who was very decision prone, spoke kind of broken English, and there was nothing remarkable about him except that he was a remarkable fighter. He became a bigger star, because of the rivalry with Conor, and then people suddenly realize, okay, yeah, he gets some decisions, but he's also like capable of finishing a fight, and he's a pretty funny soundbite, once you get to know him and he has a little time on the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, guys, I'm looking at our chat. People are talking. Um, so someone's asking, like, will AJ McKee become the next nemesis? I don't see AJ McKee leaving Bellator. I mean, that'd be crazy for Bellator to not sign him to an extremely long-term contract where they lock him. I mean, he's the face of Bellator. He's the star. But let's talk about the X's and O's, because we had this really close matchup on paper, and it was not close at all. As the fight went on and on, Alex Volkanovski just systematically broke down Brian Ortega. What impresses me most about Alex Volkanovski is his ability to just pick apart guys on the feet, pick apart with variety. Like, he mixes in his attacks. Like, I was saying to, like, I had people over watching together, and I was saying, like, watch every one of his attacks. He'll never do the same thing twice. It's inside leg kick. Next one's outside leg kick. Next one it's jab. Next one it's a combination. Then it's down to the body. Like, everything was different.
Completely agree, and he's just one of the most intelligent and well-prepared fighters on the feet that we have in the UFC right now. And I was kind of wondering what we were going to get, since he did not do any of this camp at City Kickboxing. No Eugene Behrman there to kind of help prep him, but it was seamless. He was fighting a guy in Ortega that I don't know where I'd place Ortega on the list of top strikers in the UFC, but he's certainly one of the ones against whom you have the least margin of error. He's proven over and over again that he can end a fight in an instant on the feet, and he navigated that just fine.
Yeah. Ben, if you haven't seen, I just messaged you something privately in our chat. Okay. There's a reason why I was distracted. We've had a lot of technical difficulties and being better flying from as we can, and then mostly my fault is my whole system broke down and Ben kind of threw it up if possible. But we have the best listeners, so bear with us. We're trying to fix it as much as we possibly can. So Alex, another thing that stood out to me is when Brian Ortega had him, and this is what Brian Ortega can do. Brian Ortega can end a fight in an instant. He's, like we said on the Breakdown show, he's not Damian Maia. He's not going to take you down, hold you down, work for inches. He's more Charles Oliveira. He's got a scramble's going to sue, and he's going to jump on your neck in a like a cobra, and then he ends the fight. What stood out to me so amazing, more than beating up Brian Ortega, more than piecing him up, was when Alex Volkanovski was in a really bad position. I seen a Darce choke. I seen a guillotine. I mean, a real deep guillotine, and I think it was the third round. A triangle choke right after. Like, there's 3 or 4 positions. How calm he was. When there was one point he had a triangle, and I don't know if you caught this, but they like zoomed into his face, and you could actually see. You could see Alex Volkanovski looking at Brian Ortega and like making eye contact with him while he's fighting out a triangle, to kind of show him like, no, dude, I'm okay. That to me was absolutely amazing.
Completely agree, and I obviously, if Rogan had been on the mic tonight, he would have been yelling, "Oh, it's over, it's deep," like 15 times, but I would have been on board this time because the guillotine was pretty tight and the triangle was extremely tight. That is one of the more locked in subs I have seen someone escape from in a high level UFC fight.
Yeah, and Alan as well, as he's agreeing, and I did my best Joe Rogan impersonation with the people I was with. I had my neighbor was over. I had 2 neighbors over. I had my usual crowd. My wife was there, and I screamed, "He's got him! He's got him!" Like, I was thinking about Merab Dvalishvili versus Ricky Simon, where he's kicking his legs trying to get out. When he had the triangle and he actually sat down in his butt, I thought of Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. I thought it was on because when have we seen Brian Ortega go for a submission heaven deep and not finish somebody? Like I can't remember off the top of my head.
Me either. Like those were situations in which he was used to finishing the fight, and for that reason, and you talked about the little eye contact moment, they both knew that was Ortega's best shot. Like he came
Yeah.
back out for the fourth round, and in the fifth round, I mean, I wasn't scoring actively, but I could have given that fifth round to Ortega. Like he never quit, but I think they both knew that that was his best chance to win.
Yeah, and Volkanovski, to his credit, like he did stay extremely calm, but he also has a body to kind of get out of these
Oh, dude,
positions. He's short, he's compact, he doesn't have a neck.
Austin
Like
just said Volky may be the only person getting out of those subs. I had a dog. The dog was half, like we've always kind of had rescue pit bulls, but this one was half
sure,
pit bull, half greyhound. And we had to get a special collar for him because his neck was so wide at the base and tapered down to his little greyhound head that no normal
yeah,
collar would stay on him. And that is
yeah,
Alexander Volkanovski.
like
He's got a thick neck. He's got huge traps. He's like a cobra. Like there's no place that
yeah,
you can just latch onto. It's ridiculous.
yeah. If he was longer, someone else might have get submitted. So Brian Ortega, like I would never call him the greatest grappler in the UFC history, but I think most people would agree he's like the most opportunistic. Like if he has one moment, that's all it takes. He ends it, and for Volkanovski to do what he did, absolutely sensational. They talked about his cardio afterwards, his ability, and he made Brian Ortega uncomfortable right away. Like he forced Brian Ortega on his back foot, which obviously, if you fight off your back foot, your jab, which was so effective against Korean Zombie, becomes a lot less effective because it's more defensive than offensive. He was able to continually, when he wanted to get in that mid-range striking range, completely took out Ortega's kick, especially like any high kicks or anything like that, got into his range. He was actually landing the jab more effective. I'm just blown away by Alex Volkanovski's performance. Um, Before we get into who they should fight next, should Brian Ortega change divisions? I mean, it's 2 times in a row he's fought for the title. 2 times in a row he's been absolutely destroyed. The top 2 guys in the division have already beaten him.
It might not hurt. He would not be undersized at lightweight. In fact, he has said before that the reason he only fights once or twice a year is because it takes him so long to make the weight cut. He's a guy that has to kind of like do a weight camp and then a training camp, and so he really can't fight more than like twice a year. Moving up to lightweight, he's still going to be one of the most dangerous grapplers in the division. He's still going to be a dangerous striker, and I don't think he's not going to come across undersized against those guys.
Yeah, I want guys in the chat. Let me know, what do you think? If you were a coach, a friend, or whatever, you had some kind of way to get to Brian Ortega, you had some kind of clout where your opinion matters to Brian Ortega. Would you tell him to change? Just let us know, lightweight or featherweight. Just put LW, FW, or spell it out, whatever you want to do. Just tell like Brian Ortega's next fight, what should it be in? Because I'm thinking the top 2 guys in the division, you kind of have a Joseph Benavidez type thing where you might be the next guy up, but unfortunately you've already lost the title. I would push him. I mean, he's still young. Lightweight is probably even more exciting division than featherweight. There's some really exciting matchups for him up there. That's what I would do with him. I would move him up. Let me ask you this question. So I don't think Brian Ortega lost any fans tonight. I mean, when you see a guy beaten up, I mean, when they were checking his eyes, I was saying, and I do this a lot. I don't know if I'm a wimp. Austin saying you still have him a top 5 fighter. I mean, I don't know if he's a top 5 guy in the weight class, but like he's in that range of guys who he would fight. And Kyle saying fight featherweight, moving down. Luke is saying go up to lightweight. Allen's writing really long ones, so it's hard to read on the fly. But he's agreeing that maybe he should move up. So it's about 50-50 of what people think so far in our chat. We don't have enough people commenting. But yeah, let us know if you think what you would do. But and I do this. I do this a lot. I wish it was something we saw more in MMA when a guy's really beat up. I wish corners were throwing the towel more. I was sitting there and I'm looking at a guy and I'm looking at a doctor saying, "Can you see?" And he's having a hard time answering. He's like, "I think I can see." They have to ask him a bunch of times. He's having him walk towards him. He looks wobbly just walking towards him. I was saying, like, come on, guys, throw in the towel. Like, there's no need for this beating. But besides that, besides this epic beatdown he got, his face mangled, he's still always going to get fans because he's been in 2 title fights, took 2 of the biggest beatings I've ever seen, and continue. I mean, I saw him throwing flying knees in the 5th round, trying to find a way. Like, I don't think he's going to lose fans. I don't know if we have the awards yet, but I'm assuming this is going to be the fight of the night. Do we have the awards yet?
I'm looking right now. Yes, we have a fight of the night and 2 performances of the night.
Okay, so before we get to that, I just want to make this point. But there's got to be a time where he wins a big fight. Like, when you think of Brian Ortega, and I know that this is usually a question we ask at the end of their career, what's their legacy? But right now, when you think of Brian Ortega, what comes to your mind? Like, winning the title and having good performance, having close fights in the championship would matter. Like, what's your thoughts of Brian Ortega right now?
He is in danger of getting to a point where all of his most memorable highlights are bad losses. Because on the way up, all of his biggest highlights, all of it, like the things that stuck out in my mind, were come from behind wins, like just getting worked by Clay Guida until he finished him, and just like that 4 third round finishes in a row, all 4 times he was behind 2 rounds to them when he got the finish. Then the Frankie fight, that was just a straight knockout of the year contender, like just a highlight that didn't involve him getting his ass kicked. And yeah, but these title fights, I mean, Alan asked in the chat, what was the worst beating, this or him versus Max?
It's close.
Recency makes me say this one. I mean, the physical beating was about the same, but this had to be more discouraging because here he actually had Volkanovski in his world and couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, I'm going to say the opposite just because of that, because he did have moments in this fight. I know one judge actually gave him a round in this fight. I disagree. I had a 50-44 for Volkanovski. I don't remember if it was a 3rd or 4th round. One of the rounds I gave him a 10-8 round. So I would go, but I mean, they're both really bad beatdowns. The one thing I remember from the Max Holloway is when Max Holloway starts coaching Brian Ortega in the fight, telling why he's able to hit him and what he's doing wrong. But that's very memorable. Like, I don't know if 10 years from now, I don't know if I'll have a memory from this fight other than Volkanovski won easily.
Sherdog associate editor Jay Petrie, our unofficial producer, because I haven't twisted his arm to be our real producer yet. He points out that he could turn out like Joseph Benavidez or Alexander Gustafsson, 2 all-time great fighters in their divisions who nonetheless are most defined by the times they came up short.
Yeah, and I feel like and that's a good point. I think that's the category that Brian Ortega's fallen himself in, which is another reason why I'm pushing for him to move up in weight class. And he also has the frame for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Joseph Benavidez would have. Now, I understand. I know back in WC he fought 135 for title and all that, but he's built differently. He's a small, very small guy.
Your audio is
not. But
just your audio broke up on me just for a second there.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying like how physically big he is, and this guy's in the division. I just mentioned like the current champion, Charles Oliveira. Now he's a tall, lanky guy too, but physically, Brian Ortega looks bigger to me than Charles Oliveira.
Oh, absolutely, and he looks like a guy who's kind of semi-killing himself to make 145. I mean, hell, how many years ago was it that we would have said the same thing about Dustin Poirier?
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good, really dangerous featherweight who just, he'll probably never quite get over the hump. Moved up to lightweight and he got over the hump.
Yeah. All right. So before we get to who they should fight next, we'll stay with Brian Ortega because we're kind of in that point. Usually we like to go with the winner first. Brian Ortega's next fight, you could do anything. The way we do our matchmaking, guys, is we don't care about how much money they make, when they want to return, who's partners, who's teammates, who's what. It's simply, we're the bosses, we're the ultimate supreme beings. You have to listen to us. Okay, so I just want you guys, if anybody's watching this, who've never seen our show before, and Brian Ortega's fighting who next?
He needs a step back.
Okay.
And there is, in featherweight in particular, there is a flock of undefeated, or at least undefeated in the UFC prospects who are coming up. I mean, some of them are encroaching into the top 10 now. They all look like future top 10 guys, and at least one of them has deserved a shot at a big name. Ortega absolutely is that. So I'm looking at like your Evloevs, your Mitchells, your Topurias, someone like that.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm doing, because again, the reason why I was saying I'm supreme being, I'm forcing him to go up to lightweight. So the match I'm doing, and there's a couple of ones, and this is strictly from how fun would this matchup be? I put him against Tony Ferguson at 155.
Move him up to 155 and put him against Tony Ferguson.
I
That
mean,
works for me.
like, how fun would that be?
And if he goes up to 155, we have the opposite of the problem we have at 145. It's wide open. He hasn't fought any of those guys yet.
If he fought the loser of Gaethje versus Chandler, if he fought Beneil Dariush, if he fought Dan Hooker, who is on this, like Gregor, like it's unended opportunities for me. And suddenly you have a guy who's lost twice recently in the title, and he doesn't carry that game. He's a new guy coming in, and he's got excitement around him instead of being the guy who's kind of like a roadblock, stopping people from their chance at the title. I don't see any benefit for the UFC with Brian Ortega at 145, and I don't really see any benefit from him either.
I mean, I agree. I have the feeling he's probably going to go kind of have a long talk and a long think with his people. Hopefully not the same people that kept running him out, in the 4th and 5th round. But, some people that really have his best interests at heart and kind of decide what to do. Because he is not done by any stretch of the imagination. He is a young fighter who's actually still getting better from fight to fight. He just is in the absolute worst place and time for himself right now in that division.
Yeah. All right, let's move on with champion. So it seems like the UFC has already kind of positioned the next fight, and it looks like they're saying the winner of Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. And the reason why I'm bringing up what the UFC saying is simply because, to me, I don't see anything else either.
I guess. I mean, Volkanovski, other than that, again, you're looking at those prospects, and all of them feel like they should at least have 2 or 3 more fights before they have to deal with a guy like that.
Yeah.
I'm super high on Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze, but do you want to see either of them fight Alex Volkanovski in 6 months?
No, and honestly, being that Giga has fought in the main event, it would probably be him. Like, he's probably ahead of Arnold Allen. Like, I know he's not ahead of Arnold Allen, and I don't think he's ahead in our Sherdog rankings. I'm not really sure, but the point is, when you got a main event, your cachet is ahead of Arnold Allen. It intrigues me as a matchup. Like, it's a fantastic matchup if he gets booked, but I don't know if he earns it. Like, I don't know if beating Edson Barbosa gets you a title shot. Let me ask you this: so, if it's Holloway or Yair Rodriguez, let's just put Holloway to the side for a second. Max Holloway versus Alex Volkanovski 3. Are you excited for that matchup? I mean, it's a fun stylistic matchup. But
it's a fun stylistic matchup. Both of their first 2 fights were good. I would like it just fine if it weren't for the title. But if they fight and we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3 for the title, what happens if Holloway wins? We immediately get the 4th fight.
I was thinking the same.
And these guys are just spending these guys might as well move in together.
Yeah. I mean, and do we get a 5th fight if Holloway wins 2 in a row? Like, do we have to break the tie?
Then we get our first 5-peat in the UFC. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. And what does Volkanovski get out of it? I mean, it seems like it's got to be the fight. But if you're Alex Volkanovski, to me, you have everything to lose. 1, obviously, the title. 2, losing a fight to Max Holloway, which would make, if he loses to Max Holloway, it would make the second fight, the critics of the second fight said he lost, even worse.
Yeah. I want to see Volkanovski while he's clearly in his prime or even just hitting his stride now. I want to see him fight as many different styles, as many different fighters as he can while we can get it. I mean, looking back, if we knew what a short time we were going to have with Prime Cain Velasquez, do you know how badly I would have not wanted him to see him fight Bigfoot Silva twice?
Oh, JDS 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he spent his best years just fighting those 2 guys back and forth.
Yeah, I would have rather have seen him fight in, Alistair Overeem and And guys like, I'm trying to think of some Verdumi fought at the end, but like, guys like that who are on the top. Yeah, absolutely. Frank Mir or whatever. Is I keep thinking I'm going to bring it up again. Is the reason why I have an issue if I'm Alex Volkanovski fighting Max Holloway is one, again, I can lose a title. Two, I can lose a fight. Three, if we're not excited to see the third fight, if he loses, are we really excited to see a fourth fight? Or does Max Holloway get a different? He gets to fight other guys, and Volkanovski's sick back.
And whether Volkanovski likes it or not, he's going to ask for the immediate rematch. Like, who's going to be like, no, I don't want to fight for the title. I've already beaten this guy twice, but yeah. So it puts the division in a bad place.
Yeah, and so really, Yair Rodriguez, if you want to keep the division exciting, like win, beat him.
I feel great about placing all that weight on his shoulders. He's always, reacted really well under stress.
Yeah, and honestly, if he even won, we know how inactive he is. It's how hard to get him back in there.
Yeah.
So, and Volkanovski, he's just one of these guys. He's too small to move up to lightweight, and like he's physically stronger enough, and I'm sure he's probably stronger than 75% of the lightweight guys out there. Just tall, height. He's already shuffled the weight class.
He's Australian Pitbull.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it might not be a good example when I'm saying that he should win he should have moved Pitbull won the title.
He landed the punch of a lifetime on another guy who's very short for lightweight.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was the first champion that retained the title. The second champion that also retained her title was Valentina Shevchenko, and it's on repeat if what am I looking for? It's 2:22 in the morning. I don't know. Hit a shot if you heard this before that Valentina Shevchenko dominates a title challenger. I believe it's her sixth title fight in a row.
It is her sixth. She is now in sole possession for the UFC record for most title defenses in a women's division with 6. She was tied at 5 with Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Amanda Nunes. She now has sole possession of the lead. Of course, Nunes has a total of 7 between her two divisions, but it's a great moment for Val. She continues to make her case as the best pound-for-pound woman in the sport.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think she's got it. If you think that she should have won the second Nunes fight, she has a very good case.
Yeah, I always like to remind people of it. Okay, before we get into the Amanda Nunes talk, let's talk about what happened tonight. We'll put a pin on because I'm sure we'll get into Amanda Nunes talk in a second. But Valentina, did she even break a sweat? Like I was actually trying to find her sweating. Like she might have had like a little like bubbles on her nose, like when you're.
Just the little glow that you get.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it. It was effortless, and she didn't really put the pedal to the metal until the very end. And then once she did, it was over very quickly.
That's funny you said that because to me, she looked like she was a girl who's like, I'm going to get my rounds in. Like I just put in a 6-week, 8-week, whatever, however long her camp was. Like I'm not going to destroy this girl. Right? Let me work on some things. Let me break some sweats. Let me just get my rounds in. That's what it looked like. And to me, nobody was giving Lauren Murphy a shot. The way she fought, she really didn't give herself a shot. I felt about 2 minutes into the fight, she turned into survivor mode, where it looked like to me, she was just trying to make it to the decision. So
I agree.
Okay.
And that's what made this fight terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't hate the Jennifer Maia fight. Because I don't feel as though Maia ever gave up trying to win the fight. Yep. She just was horribly outgunned in every position. So was Murphy, but after about halfway through the first round, she just didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So, we said on the preview, she barely, she doesn't have, a puncher's chance or a Hail Mary sub. Like, she wins by grinding people out. Like, you're not going to do that to Valentina Shevchenko, even if she does, completely take a round off. But yeah, it seemed like she wasn't even trying. And I'm not speaking to her motivation. I'm not saying she was scared or she quit. I'm just saying she found herself in a situation where she didn't have the answers.
Yeah.
And between rounds, her corner couldn't really give her any answers.
Yeah, I think Alan summed this up really well when he said it looked like target practice. That is true. That's what it seems like she does to every one of her opponents. Austin said that he had a casual fan that said that fight was boring. And he said his response was, "This is straight dominance." I think you both were right. I think there was a big section of time it was boring. but it was also one-sided. She's just so quick. The way she moves her head and how accurate she is, the way she beats people to the punch. And I get why Lauren Murphy didn't want to press the action because every time she tried pressing forward, she ran into like a straight left or a counter check right hook, and it's just it is what it is. So Lauren Murphy was very outgunned, very just limited tools. The one moment in the fight that trust me, I'm trying to find something, guys. So bear with me, okay? Like I know you're gonna be like, really, that wasn't a moment. Um, I think it was the very beginning of the second round. She was able to close the distance. She was able to clinch, like chest to chest, backed Valentina Shevchenko against the cage. Was looking like she was trying to get a takedown, but more just kind of grinding, trying to become a grinding fight. It might have been 30 seconds, and then Shevchenko was able to break free, and then just started picking her apart. I would have rather had a boring Lauren Murphy trying to close distance, just trying to pin against the cage, try doing very similar to what Jennifer Maia do. And yeah, the chance of that winning you the title, not good. But I don't know. I'm trying to find something.
I no, I mean there really are no bright spots.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm saying like that's what she should have done. Like she should have tried to turn it the most boring title fight in history. Try to stop Valentina's offense by pushing against the cage, and I don't know, giving a little short knees to the legs and ribs until the referee breaks it, and then try to clinch again immediately after. I don't know. So Valentina Shevchenko, you said that she's the best fighter in the UFC, regardless of weight class. I don't know if that's true. And the only reason I don't know if that's true is I have one other person that may be better than her, and that's Amanda Nunes. Like I think the two best fighters in the UFC right now are two females.
No, they are absolutely the two most dominant. They're certainly the two most dominant
Yeah,
fighters in the UFC, and they're 1 and 1A
yeah,
regardless of how you think of them. Uh, whichever one you think is better, the other one is 1A. None of them is like far ahead of the other.
yeah. Kyle says she looked more lost than Liz Carmouche. Yeah, I agree. But she had a very Liz Carmouche performance where Liz basically said, "All right, this ain't gonna work out. Let me get to a decision." I feel like Lauren was trying to look like, "Let me get to a decision," and then everyone will say, "Like, wow, she made it to a decision. Like, she's better than we thought she was." And if I'm in the title fight, I'm trying to win that shit. I'd rather, and that's why I like that Valentina stepped it up. And I understand why it's hard for Valentina to get a knockout when someone's being so defensively and moving back. It's like one thing I tell people in wrestling, like if I have someone who's much better than wrestling me, and that guy bet me $50, hey, I can take you down in a minute. I will take that bet every time because if I'm defensive wrestling, it's extremely hard to take me down.
Sure.
But now if we have a wrestling match where I have to try to score offense of myself to win, then you'll beat me. Because when I start opening up my offense, that actually gives you more opportunities for your offense. So like I
Oh,
think
I
you
absolutely.
know what I mean? I think that's what happened to Valentina. Like she got to the point where like, yeah, well, she's not doing anything.
And who else has been in that situation? Anderson Silva. I mean, in the
And
prime of his reign, Anderson Silva is fighting like Patrick Cote. Well, that's not fair. Cote
yeah,
actually
but
kind
there
of came out
was
of it. But Talis Leches, who
oh,
Talis Leches might as well have been fighting as if somebody had like a high powered rifle like pointed at his head from the rafters. Like all he wanted to do was get out of that cage alive.
Yushin Okami,
Yeah,
another one.
and Okami got starched anyway.
Yeah, but he was trying to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so she has six title fights. She's so dominant. She's very remarkable. She's so like likable. Like I don't know anybody who doesn't like Valentina Shevchenko. Her personality, some of her comments at the post, excuse me, at the press conference was like brilliant when they asked her what her motivation was. She's like, my motivation is martial arts. Like I want to be the best martial artist. I just how she just had like a purity to her violence attracts me to her in the
Mm-hmm.
as a it attracts me as a fan, not as a guy to a girl. I mean, like she, you just want to hear her talk more. You just like the way she views the world differently than a lot of people, and it's very genuine and it's nice. So what's next for her? I mean, I know people are gonna say
Nunes 3.
I'll say this. I feel the same way about Nunes. I feel the same way about Nunes, Shevchenko 3 as I feel Volkanovski and Holloway. What does Amanda Nunes get out of it? She got everything to lose, nothing to gain. She's up 2-0.
I agree, except that Volkanovski still has plenty he can prove without going back to that that trilogy. Whereas Nunes, she's got to be getting close to the end. I mean, she still appears to be fighting in top form. She's absolutely destroying everybody they put in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
But, they've got a baby. She's 34.
Sure.
And she's made noises about it. She's, kind of
Yeah.
said that she wants in the next couple of years to go off and start a family. Let me put it to you this way.
Uh-huh.
If you knew that Amanda Nunes only had 3 more fights, period, before she walks away forever, would you want one of them to be against Bell?
Are you asking me as a fan, or you asking me if I'm Amanda Nunes? Because I think I have 2 different answers. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, well, then give me both.
Okay, as a fan, of course I do. I mean, I want to see the best people fight the best people. As a fan, I want to see Max Holloway versus Alex Volkanovski happen again. Like, as Amanda Nunes, no, and I'll tell you why. I got 4 reasons. One, it's her belt that they would be going for. I mean, 135. So she loses the belt if she loses. Mm-hmm. 2, she's up 2-0. So, yeah, if she loses, she'd still be up on the trilogy. But a lot of people thought Valentina Shevchenko won the second fight. But she'd still be up 2-1. So, like, she gives her opponent a chance to get a win on her instead of being down 2-0. And side note, before I get to my other 2 points, side note, I just want to remind people, like, go watch Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko 2. It is terrible. It's one of the worst title fights in history. It is extremely boring, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened again. Back to my next one. Number 3, she's the bigger fighter, so she's supposed to win. The bigger fighter is supposed to win. So even when they win, they still don't get as much credit than when the smaller fighter moves up and win. Like, just look at, like, Stevie Miocic won the trilogy against Daniel Cormier, and he somehow, like, did still not get the respect that Daniel Cormier did when he won the title, moved up and became a 2-weight champion. But my number 4, but really it's my biggest reason, she's already considered the GOAT. Valentina Shevchenko isn't. Why give her the chance to steal that title from you? So that's 4 reasons why I wouldn't do it. I don't have a single reason why I would, if I'm Amanda Nunes.
My only thought would be that by the time she gets to that point, all of her choices might be rematches. I mean, we might be looking at
True. Fair enough.
A second Pennington fight or a second Durandamy fight. You know what I mean? Like
third Durandamy. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, third Durandamy. I forgot that they fought. Yeah.
Second Holly Holm fight. Yeah. No, I get. Yeah. No, I get it. Like, they both have wiped out the. Like, when I give you who I think she should fight next, Valentina Shevchenko, it's not going to be a sexy pick. Like, it's going to be like, oh, really? So we're going to see her win again? So you would. So if you're the supreme being, you are making Amanda Nunes fight next?
No, I'm not making that. But I'm definitely holding it in my back pocket for when Nunes starts making noises about, I want 2 more fights, and then I'm done. Something like that. So but I don't want it immediately.
Okay.
It's just time. I mean, I tweeted this out, and people apparently liked it. Like, it got a lot of engagement for one of my tweets. But I was like, I know DC has to ask this because he asked her about challengers. Like, but asking Valentina Shevchenko her opinions on the pool of contenders at flyweight is like asking a wood chipper if it has a favorite flavor of tree.
Yeah.
Like, because one, she's got that kind of like cold demeanor.
Yeah.
Like, she's just, I'm a machine that takes, top
Eastern
10 flyweights
European,
in one side and just spits mulch out the other.
That Eastern European kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see her being like a spy that, like, kicks the shit out of Jason Bourne in some scene, and then maybe they end up making out. Like,
Yeah. So, guys, don't kill me this. I'm going to make this comparison right now. I might be way, way off. I'm not a comic book person. I've seen a couple of them. I tried watching the Marvel movies. I didn't get through them, but I tried. I tried doing the Marvel, whatever the order. I was like, watch the Hulk, then watch this one. And I got like 8 movies in, and I'm like, these are terrible. Anyways, I know I am in the small minority. I know they're the most popular movies ever. Hey, whatever. Cool, that's your thing. Not my thing. Anyways, What's the hot chick?
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. She's like the real life Scarlett Johansson character. But didn't she have some Russian thing going on, or she was a spy?
She is Russian.
She's Russian.
She is Russian. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and I know she's not. Valentina's not Russian. She's
from Kyrgyzstan. But yeah, like she speaks Russian.
But like,
yeah.
Isn't she like the real life woman?
Pretty much.
Like can do all the badass moves, has the accent, is a bit pretty. Like she's.
Yeah.
That's Valentina Shevchenko. But guys, I don't know if there's some kind of don't at me. Hey, in the 8th movie and the 4th comic, she's actually American. Whatever. Don't at me. I haven't seen them. I'm not digging too deep in my analysis of it. So who would you? So you have to match someone. I mean, you're the matchmaker. Who are you giving her?
It's legacy time. It is just time to beat the next person.
Okay.
The next people, like the highest ranked people that are coming off wins and she is not beaten yet, are literally like Alexa Grasso and Taila Santos.
Yep. So I would do Calderwood Grasso winner. That's what I would do. Yeah,
I mean, Calderwood has been like close to a title shot for like 3 years now, and just things have happened. She took a fight and lost. She's been kind of orbiting around Valentina Shevchenko for 3 years now. I'm sure she wants the title shot. Yeah, like if she can beat Grasso, she should get it, and then maybe decide if it's what she really wanted.
Should we match Lauren Murphy, or do you not care?
I don't super care.
Okay.
Just she's had her turn, so she goes back to the line and literally give me any top 15 flyweight that has already fought Shevchenko.
Fair.
And there are a ton of
Jennifer
them.
Maia, or yeah.
Maia.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Like, don't put her against Santos, who fought tonight. Like, don't put her against another going. Don't put her against someone who's faced champion. Like, right. Now we have the people's main event. We had Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. Oh, actually, hold on. Before I talk about the people's main event, want to guess the award? You have the awards, you said?
Yeah, I've got the awards.
All right, you said what? There's one fight and 2 performances?
Yep.
All right, the fight of the night's main event.
Absolutely, yes.
Performance is going to be tough because there was a lot of stoppages.
Yep.
Jessica Andrade?
Nope.
Oof, that was a great performance.
It was.
Let me think. Oh, Matt Selmesberger for sure.
Nope.
Guy got a 15-second knockout and he doesn't get an award? Oh, my God. Chris Daukaus.
Yes.
Okay. Jalen Turner.
Nope.
Oh, they're just hating on them. They're just hating on the guys down the card.
They are.
Valentina.
Nope.
Robbie?
Nope.
Holy Christ. Merab.
Yes.
No way. No way. Like, and I'm going to get to Rob, and I want to jump over. Man, guys, come on. And I know Selmesberger was supposed to win. I understand he was supposed to win. I understand he was a huge favorite. The guy knocked the dude out 15 freaking seconds. Give him a freaking award. Jalen Turner was flawless tonight. I mean, you don't almost get knocked out and then get the award. I don't know. Why Austin asked the same question I asked why they never give it to the guy the first 2 fights. But I don't know though. I don't know because they deserve it the most. They need it the most. Like,
don't get it either.
I'm sorry. Who? I honestly forgot who you said it was. The main event, Valentina.
Nope, Daukaus and Dwalish really.
Oh, Daukaus really. Yeah, I mean, all right. I understand it was tough tonight, but come on, Selmesberger should have sure got it. Anyways. Back to the people's main event. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. I'll say this. Before we actually talk about what happened tonight, I want to ask you a question. And I know this is hypothetical. Before their prime, before these 2 fighters were in their prime, they fought each other. Nick Diaz won.
Yes.
After these 2 guys were in their prime, Robbie Lawler won. Like you'd agree with that? They fought before the prime, fought after the prime.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What if they fought in their prime? Who do you think would have won?
I think any time during both of their primes, Robbie probably would have won.
Okay. I think it's
But
tough. It's tough.
Robbie's, I mean, Nick was on the shelf during Robbie's prime. Robbie's prime ended up coming in his early to mid 30s.
Yeah.
His prime was like 2014,
Yep.
where Nick was rolling doobies, rolling with his students, and raking in money from like weed shop appearances.
Yeah, it was there was a very small window where they probably both were in their prime, but it was extremely strong.
Well, I don't think it intersects at all because Nick's prime was like around 2008, 2009 during the last like Elite XC and Strikeforce years, where Robbie was like blown up to middleweight and almost getting knocked out by Melvin Manouf.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Like
Yeah.
Robbie was an ordinary, not contender middleweight in
Yeah.
a second line promotion when Nick was at his best. Like their
Sure.
paths have kind of intertwined over the years.
Yeah. No. No. That's fair. That's fair. Um, guys, just let us know. Tell us who you thought should have won the awards. I see some people saying Turner deserved it. I'm sure maybe some people won't give it to Summersburg because based on who he fought. But let's talk about this. I'm going to say something and tell me if you agree with this.
Okay.
I think both guys look good.
Okay. That was my initial impression as well. First thing I'll say is the fight was a lot more enjoyable than I thought we had any right to expect.
Absolutely.
I expected one of two outcomes. Either a 90-second thrashing, and not a cool highlight kind, but just a kind of a depressing 90-second thrashing, like Chuck Tito 3 type thrashing.
I did the same.
Or I expected maybe one of the worst 5-round fights, non-heavyweight, in UFC history. I figured we're getting one of those two things, and instead we got 2.5 pretty good rounds before the finish game. Like, they both looked like slowed versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick, like, his timing just looked like a guy who hadn't been doing like MMA real sparring very much in a long, long time.
Yeah, I'll say this. So I think they look good, and I'm grading on a curve because of the same thing. Like, it's one of those ones when someone tells you like, oh my god, you wait till you see this movie, it's so freaking good. Then you watch and you're like, yeah, it's good, but then you're like The Departed, for example, which is people must hate me this because if Hollywood makes a movie and they put a Boston accent, it's a really terrible Boston accent, no one talks that way. Everyone from New England has to love it, especially Southern New England. But I remember I was saying like The Departed is so great. Then I watched it and I was like, it's okay. And then because I said it was, like I didn't like the movie. But I still think it's good. It was entertaining. But you know what I mean? That's my point. But then it goes the other way. If someone tells you like, oh, this is terrible, then it's like, wasn't that bad? You're actually like, oh, it's actually pretty good.
Exactly. Yep.
That's what I felt like. I thought when it first started, like the first 20 seconds or so, I was like, oh god, Robbie Lawler's gonna put him out. This is gonna be that Chocolate Owl getting knocked out. Oh god. And then he just did what Nick Diaz and the Diaz brothers do. They take shots, they survive, and then they just kind of pat, and just keep doing it. And then then they win. And I felt like, wow, this has actually happened. And then it seemed like Robbie got a second win. Like, to me, I kept saying, like, Robbie got to stop loading up on everything. He's getting himself tired out. And then he just found a second win. And
found a second win and started doing really smart things.
Absolutely. Which he's not known for.
Yeah, not always known for, strategic subtlety or fighting to his best benefit. But because Nick Diaz was starting to do Nick Diaz things. I had forgotten what it was like to have a harder puncher throw one shot at Nick and he comes back with like just a chain of like 4 punches while he's marching forward, and just how easy it was for him to get other fighters flustered and get him moving backwards and just, get him completely out of their head. And then he would turn on the jets and actually plant his feet and start hitting him hard. But Robbie was like, no, I know how this story goes. So he'd throw a punch, and then he was doing stuff like hand fighting and trapping his hands and just kind of like stopping his combinations, just like sticking a stick in the spokes of a bicycle. Started going to the body. That really got Nick out of his game. Like,
there was a liver shot around midway through the second, and Nick never recovered. Like he didn't go down, but it's when he started backing away, he started turning his back, kind of running away, kind of thing that Conor got hated on when he did it against Nate, and everyone said, "Oh, well, the Diaz brothers stand and bang." When he got hit with the liver shot, it completely changed the way he fought. And then Robbie knew it, and Robbie kept going to it, and it was absolutely brilliant on Robbie's side. Um, but Nick, like, he's not gonna fight top 60-ish guys, you know. But like, if you were ranking his skills, I mean, is he UFC level right now?
He's UFC level.
Okay,
I said on the preview that there are guys in the UFC that he could beat right now,
I agree.
depending on where
I
they
agree.
are competitively, stylistic matchups. Uh,
Let me ask
and
you
I
this.
still feel that way.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so there's guys he could beat. I don't want you to tell me who could beat in the middleweight division. We're gonna call him the middleweight because he fought at 185. Give me a guy that he could get matched up with, and this is not me saying, Ben, who would you match him up, because my who I would match him up with is gonna be much different than a guy. But give me a guy that right now that if he got matched up against, you'd be like, this fight's 50-50. I'd have a hard time picking. Like, this is the guy he's about equal to.
KB Bowler.
I bet our buddy Bass, he's not in our chat today.
Yeah, Bass isn't in the chat. He's got. Uh, I feel bad saying this, but like the ones, most of the ones I think of right off the bat have been cut, like your Jack Marshmans of the world.
See, I think I would put him against like a Gerald Mershart, and that's someone I respect. Like, I like Gerald. I think he's good.
Mhm.
Like, that's about the level
I I even think Gerald Marshart might be a little too much for him right
It might
now.
be. It might be. It might be.
You know, like I could see him fighting like an Alessio Di Chirico, Kyle Dawkins. Remember when we thought
Oh,
Kyle Dawkins was like the real prospect out of the two?
I know. I know. Martin's saying that. Yeah, I just want to see. So basically what we're both saying is his talent right now is a mid to lower level card fighter. Early pre,
Yeah.
but he's not going to be. He's going to be in main events, co-main events, or like pay per view. He's not. No, he's not going to be main events or co-main events of fight nights. He's going to be in pay per view level fights, main card,
Yep.
big, getting the embedded, getting the countdown show. Like, that's what he's going to be.
And I mean, I want him to go back to welterweight just because I need like the homie Alex Morono to mark another off of his like Legends Tour bingo card.
Yeah, that's actually the guy he'd probably get.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I don't know what happened to Nick. I don't know if he had enough, he was beat, or I don't know if there was an injury. At one point, he actually did look like he grabbed his knee. He didn't say anything about it afterwards. I don't know if it was just his body shut down. But Nick Diaz, and I don't want to. I should have said this earlier. Nick Diaz quit. He said he had enough. He was in the third round. He was knocked down. He fell down. He waved off the fight. How surprised are you by that?
Not too surprised. I mean, he is mentally checked out of fights in which he was doing poorly before. Just the only way for him to check out of this fight was to refuse to stand back up. Because we've seen him before when he's losing a fight, like when he's getting out wrestled, you know, he'll start talking and waving and just making faces. You know, when he wasn't liking what he was getting from Anderson Silva, he like, you know, laid down on the
Yeah.
canvas. Like he's mentally checked out of fights before when he's out of ideas. Just it looked more like quitting this time because literally all he could do is be like, I'm not getting back up for more of this.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't like start doing the butt scoot, doing that thing. Like, I'm very surprised that he just waved it off.
Oh no, I think he would have done the butt scoot if Herb had let him, but Herb was like, no, get up.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, yeah.
Yeah, I am surprised though. I'm surprised that he quit. But like I said, it might have been. It's easy to say I want to fight. I want to fight a big name like Robbie. I know he said that he didn't want that matchup, but you know that's what he got. He agreed to fight a big name like Robbie Lawler, saying, "Hey, I should be fighting Kamaru Usman and this whatnot." It's easy to say it, but when you get in the cage, you haven't been punched and battered in 6 years. That changes your brain. You know, that changes your mind when the crowd, you're getting rocked and the crowd's cheering and like things change. And that just seems to me like a guy that isn't 100% committed, isn't willing to do what Brian Ortega did, isn't willing to basically Brian Ortega. And I know this is cliche, but like willing to die in there. Like Nick did not look that way.
Nope, completely agreed. And he's never been that guy. Like they're hard, like he and Nate are. I mean, they're hard dudes, but it was interesting. Like I saw some people surprised this week to hear Nick saying, I don't love fighting. I don't like fighting. And they were like, well, then you shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, no, dude, he's never liked fighting. He has
Yeah.
always hated fighting. You can go all the way back to his UFC debut. So we're talking about before the first Robbie fight when he beat Jeremy Jackson in their rematch. It was his UFC debut. And I remember him saying, oh, man, now I'm going to have to probably do this forever.
Yeah.
Like, and he meant it. And then he's had legitimate, like, just pathos and like feels a certain kind of way about getting his brother into this sport.
Yeah.
Like in an ideal world, I think he would do triathlons and smoke weed and just kind of be a chill, Central California dude. It just happens to be that, he was a great fighter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me that much.
Yeah.
I like being willing to die in there. I think is something that other people have kind of like crowned him with.
Yeah, I agree. I think your assessment on that is very fair. He's still a star. Like I was surprised that Nick got this much attention after being out for 6 years because he was never the megastar his brother was. And I know that a lot of that shine is because of his brother. His brother went to a much different level than he's been on. His brother's, I mean, of recent memory, other than Connor, I would say I always think of the same three guys: Connor, Ronda Rousey, and Brock Lesnar. Like he probably passed John Jones. Maybe Habib has passed him and stuff. But I'm saying like, if we're doing a pyramid and Connor's the top one and Rousey and Brock Lesnar's the next one, then it's I don't know John Jones, Habib, and him. Like he's
George St. Pierre.
George St. Yeah, and then but like Nick
Yeah.
is way down. But I didn't realize like he's only one tier down. Like he's almost as popular as his brother. That said, when you beat someone like that, you get a shine. I mean, Dustin Poirier talked about beating Conor McGregor. He talked about it this week. Like he gets recognized more. Has to take more pitches. He's a bigger name. Robbie Lawler is now a bigger name. Like he's got more shine. Like more people are going to know him now. But what can you do with him? He's 39 years old.
It's why, as you said all along, the UFC should have put one of their up-and-coming stars in this fight.
I'm like the only person on planet freaking Earth saying this. I didn't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, sorry for my rant. I got one fight for Robbie Lawler because to me, you have to still use this shine while you have it. Get him in a big.
What do you got?
Right. Well, he just beat Nick Diaz. Give him his brother.
Robbie versus Nate.
And give him Nate.
Honestly, I mean, it's a nice story. I think even this version of Nate that we see right now is in a lot better competitive shape than Lawler is, but I don't think he'd kill him.
You don't think Nate would kill Robbie?
I think Nate would beat Robbie pretty badly, but I don't think it would be some just like brutal knockout that made you feel bad for him.
See, Allen just threw out Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown rematch. I'm gonna say this: I love Allen. Like he's great. He's absolutely great in him. But I think he's cool enough that and Austin agrees with him. They love it. Let's be honest. Allen and Austin. I view MMA from a very promotional side. Not even though I'm as hardcore as they come. I mean, guys, I'm doing freaking previews of one championship. I mean, like I'm as hardcore as they come. But I always tend to think about the casual fans over the hardcores because let's be honest, Allen's gonna watch no matter who Robbie Lawler fights. Austin's gonna fight. So I like these guys, but I respectfully disagree because to me it's the same thing you have why I didn't like the matchup with Robbie Lawler. Now you're putting the shine on Matt Brown, who's got 1 foot out the door too. And I understand.
And they've already fought.
Yeah, and I understand the argument would be like, well, so is Nate. Nate's up there. But, like, Nate's a bigger star, so you can promote and you get that big promote. You're not going to get a big push on a Matt Brown fight. Like, to me, Robbie Lawler versus Matt Brown, like, I wouldn't give that a fight night main event at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, opening fight of a pay-per-view, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Alan's saying legends fights from here on out. Yeah, I mean, there are legends like still in the UFC, kind of the ones on that final tour, or if not legends, just kind of like veteran types. I think Tim Means is probably in a little better shape than he is,
Sure.
but that'll be a hell of a fight.
Yeah. So let's. Oh, so who did you say you would put Robbie against?
I didn't actually
Okay.
say anybody. Like Jay Petrie's over here in my ear being like, could Nick Diaz beat Alex Morono? Do you think he could beat Cowboy Cerrone?
I,
Like,
I
so
don't
I,
I
I
don't
haven't
know.
been thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like as much as we joke and Alex Morono, like I'm not giving Alex Morono Robbie Lawler.
No, but hey, he's the king of getting the
Yeah,
legends.
that
So we'll see what happens.
hey, good for Alex Morono. So, well, what
Yep.
would you do?
Dude, I have no idea. I was kind of hoping he'd retire in the cage and we wouldn't have to talk
Yeah,
about
he
it.
probably Robbie Lawler's gonna be that guy though. He's gonna be that guy that's fighting bare knuckle boxing 10 years from now. It's just gonna happen. Uh, Nick said in the and I take the Diaz brothers word very lightly. Again, I don't. It doesn't hold much weight with me, but he said if he gets his ass kicked, that he would return. Like that was like, which made no sense to me. Like I lose, I'm definitely coming back. So let's say he's definitely coming back. What are you doing? I got one match. The same. This is the guy I thought Nick should have fought the first time. I'm putting him again. Well, now this guy got rematched, so this might change if he loses. But if he wins, Hazmat Shemaev, that's the fight I give because Nick still has name. People still excited. I mean, people were talking about how he would do against Kamaru Usman this week, and I had people there say, "Oh, Nick's gonna win," and people I respect saying Nick's gonna win, this and that. Like people still, that's the fight. I went my daughter's softball game. The first thing I said, "Hey, how's it going, buddy?" And the first thing he said to me like, "Oh, who you gonna win today? How do you think?" And it wasn't who you think's gonna win the main event. It was, "Oh, who you think's gonna win between Diaz and Lawler?" I want to build the next star off of his name. Shmaev and Monterum. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, if you're gonna match him appropriately to like his name and his stature in the sport, it's either like a fellow aging legend or it is someone that's just gonna thrash him. I mean, he's a 39-year-old guy who has more miles on him in just terms of like fight time and slugfests than just about anybody else in the history of the sport. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in the team photo for guy who's taken the most punches to the head in his career, and that's not even counting like 10 years of Thursday nights at Militich.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if Lawler's going to stay around, we're
No,
probably going to get some good and some bad memories.
no. So I'm not talking about Law. I'm talking about
Oh, you're talking
Diaz.
about
I think
Diaz.
Diaz, Shemaev, still even off a loss.
Shemaev would retire him because I bet
No.
Shemaev would like take him down and choke him out, and there's like no
Yeah.
coming back from that. There's no prettying that up.
Yeah. So I would have Lawler versus Diaz, Nate Diaz, and
Mm-hmm.
Nick Diaz versus Shemaev. That's what I would do.
That works for me.
Anyways, so those are the big three guys. We've gone a long time. We'll go a little bit faster for the rest of the card. Curtis Blade versus Jairzinho Roadstrike. I'll say one thing surprised me, one thing didn't surprise me. Curtis Blade's winning and how he won did not surprise me at all. What surprised me is that Roadstrike was able to get to the decision. Like I thought, when Blade took him down, I thought he'd be able to move to mount and or beat him up even more on the ground. That's the only thing. That's the only. I saw a guy I respect pick Jairzinho Roadstrike to win, and I was like, "You really think he's just going to win that one big haymaker shot? Because that's the only way he wins."
Like it again. Like I mean, I'm not trying to sell you guys the preview if you're watching this because you probably already watched it, but I said on the preview, yeah, you can either like punch him right behind the ear so hard that he goes down before he can even shoot on you, or you can intercept him on the way in. It's easy for me to say, but if your name isn't Francis Ngannou or Derek Lewis, possibly the two hardest punchers in heavyweight history, it's been pretty hard to do so far. I was a little surprised at how Rosenstrike's survivability on the ground, which basically is why they made it to the decision.
Sure.
And Blades was a little gun shy.
Yeah.
I think he's as aware as anybody else of how he's been beaten.
Yeah.
And he really, really, really doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, one, I do agree that he was a little gun shy, but I actually think that gun shyness made him a better fighter because he wasn't shooting blindly, and that's what he got caught. Like he was setting up his shots a little bit better, and that's going to make him a better fighter. Like he had to like strike with a road strike a little bit to set up a shot instead of what I expected him to do was just basically run across the cage and shoot immediately.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will, and you said you don't want to pump up the previous show. I want to do it for a second because we never do this. My man, I went 11-2 on the previous show. Like I had a very good night. To my man Ben did even better. He went 12-1. So if you want to know who wins, I was like, we ain't always that good. But this week we were damn pretty good. So good to you, my man.
Yeah. Kyle Lawheed in the chat says Blades always feels like he's about to get into a car accident. I
I
co-sign on this
it's a good-
10,000% because even though he won every round pretty easily and just basically bulldozed Rosenstrike every second of the fight, like every time Rosenstrike even twitched, I was like, oh, here it goes. Like Blades is going down. I completely feel this, and if I feel that way, no wonder Blades was deliberate.
yeah.
Like I'm sitting in my office chair and I'm like flinching every time like Rosenstrike starts to throw something. So yeah,
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say this. The the one thing I didn't like, so yeah, Roadstrike did get it better than I thought he would, especially when he got up in the first round. As the fight went deeper and his ability to get up was worse. But to me, he has a very, very small window to win, and that was to basically catch Blades, like you said, behind the ear, or catch him clean when he's coming in while he's shooting, or something like that. But then he didn't throw. Like you had a very small window, and you made it worse by like not shooting.
yep,
I think about like I feel like it was the basketball game at the carnival where like the ball. You ever see one of those ones with the basketball move in? And you have, I don't know, 5 shots.
mm-hmm.
Or think about like the carnival game where there's like little holes you have to throw it in, but the small hole you get more points. But
Yep,
you have to get 100 to win, and there's a bigger hole. Like you could throw in the big hole 10 times, or you can throw in a small hole 1 time, but you're actually probably better off throwing the bigger hole 10 times. And not only you not only only throwing to the little hole, but like instead of throwing like you have 10 balls and throwing them in 10 seconds as fast as you can, you're like aiming, you're lining up, you're checking it, and then the time just runs out before you throw it. Like that's what I felt like Roadstrike was. Like throw the fucking thing, dude.
yep.
Like he wasn't throwing. Throw your hands, dude. You have one chance. Throw a high kick. Do something. But he
But
didn't.
nope. So yeah,
Uh,
uh,
so I'm sorry. Austin says he believes Blades beats any heavyweight besides Francis Lewis and Gon. I still think he could beat Lewis, but what do you do with Curtis Blades? He called for 3 possible opponents. One was Francis Ngannou, the other one was John Jones, the third one was Stipe Miocic. I like the Stipe matchup. Like that makes sense to me.
I like all of those. Like, hooray for reasonable and sensible callouts. I think any of those would work. Uh, but yeah, I like the Stipe one a lot, and if Stipe would take it, it's one of the few fights that Stipe will take. Because I mean, he's been saying for 3 years, I don't want to fight the number 15 guy in the division. I'm too old. I
Sure.
got nothing to prove against that guy. Maybe he would fight Blades, and he is a supremely confident guy for good reason. I mean, he's an all-time great heavyweight, and I bet he looks at Blades and is like, I don't think he could take me down very easily, and I'm a much better boxer than him. I might just be poisoned for Curtis Blades.
Yeah. That's so that Stevie would be the fight I would do. As a Roadstrike, until he fixes his wrestling and gets more active on his feet, he's a struggle. To me, he has to take a step down. And honestly, at this point, to me, he has to be the guy that propels the next levels of heavyweights.
They are waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I put him against Tom Aspinall.
Aspinall works for me. Hell, so would Dawkins.
Yeah, well, I picked someone else for Dawkins, so we'll get to Dawkins
Okay,
later.
well then we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, Aspinall works for me.
So Curtis Blades was a good, like we said, we both had a really good run, and like I said, when we pick a bad pick, we like to admit it. We're not one of these ones who like hide our bad picks. We had a couple really good ones. Like I think the way we broke down Volkanovski was really well. The Curtis Blades one, I think my best call was Jessica Andrade. I said she was going to run right through Cynthia Cavallo, and that's what she did.
Absolutely.
Jessica Andrade is really good. Like she does not get enough credit. Like we talk about like Alec Volkanovski put some respect in his name. Jessica Andrade, like if you beat Jessica Andrade, you're freaking really good. Like you're champion good. And I'm talking about hold on. And I'm talking about don't go back. I'm talking about like the last 3 or 4 years. Like that this Jessica Andrade is a Terminator.
Oh, hell, her last loss at bantamweight was a decision to Raquel Pennington, and Raquel Pennington I went from that, I think, straight to a title shot or
Was it
was at
decision?
a title.
No,
Yeah, she finished Pennington, and Pennington beat her by decision. Or do I have those backwards?
I didn't. Pennington
Because they fought
was
twice.
Pennington. Wasn't she a bulldog choke by Pennington? Or am I forget? Is that somebody else? Rear naked choke. Yeah. But with rear naked choke, it looked like
Okay.
a choke choke. Yeah, with the 1 second left in the round. Yeah.
But
Yeah, like
at any
they
rate,
went to
like,
the commercial break and then they came back and like, oh no, she actually got choked out. Yeah. Okay. But the point is like this girl's so good. Her nonstop pressure, forcing you to backpedal the whole fight, forcing you to not fight how you want to. Other than Joanna Young Jacek and I guess a little bit Rose Namajunas, but uh, Valentina Shevchenko. Like, not many people have an answer for that forward pressure. Like, she ran into a shot from Weili Zhang, and that's going to happen when you're willing to eat one to land a bigger shot. And yeah, okay, I'll put Rose in the same category, but like, you have to be extremely athletic and it just like absolute sniper to deal with the Jessica Andrade pressure. And then if she gets inside, she has power. She doesn't get enough credit for her accuracy with her power strikes, and then just pure strength where she gets on your hips. We didn't see it today where she could like I expected her to do what Andrade does, like not only pick you up, but look like she's gonna throw you out of the cage. Jessica Andrade is on my like list of favorite fighters to watch. I love watching her fight.
completely agree. And when you see her work, especially on the feet, you see her do stuff that it wouldn't be strategically sound for most women, but nobody's able to make her pay for it. Like she's just she's just that good. I mean, she's that athletically gifted, and yeah, I mean, she is great, and she really is
Oh,
a blast.
okay. Kylie said the bulldog choke was Ashley Evans Smith. Okay, I think he's right. I apologize. I think Kyle was right. It was Ashley Evans Smith. Um, but yeah, I'm mixing up those two. But Jessica Andrade did get choked out by Raquel Pennington.
Okay.
I want to before we move on from this fight, I want to ask a question. Now we both agree with this statement. I want to ask the listeners what they think. If and we just we don't do this dream matching fights that will never happen, but let's just do it for fun now. If Jessica Andrade went to Bellator, would she win the title? Would she win the 125 title? I think she would. And I believe Ben, you said she would have. She would too. Correct.
Well, Juliana Velasquez is the only person in that division over there that I wouldn't think that she should be like a 5-1 favorite over. I
No,
think
I agree.
her versus Velasquez would be a really good fight just because Velasquez herself is so strong and so powerful.
Yeah, she's huge. When I was at her last fight, I was there and I talked to her, and we actually ate lunch after the event right next to her. For a 125-pound woman, she's a big woman. Much bigger than Denise Gilles, who she fought. But yeah, guys, tell us. All right, just that. All right, so straight up, Andrade versus Juliana Velasquez. Who would win? Just one answer. Andrade, or I would take Andrade without film study or not. And I know it's obviously a dream fight, but let me ask you the other question. She is in a very similar situation that we have other people we talked about earlier with Valentina Shevchenko, with Max Holloway, where like the champion is like she's already lost to the champion. She lost recently to Valentina Shevchenko. Do you think she should go back down to 115? Because I do. Just from the pure, I feel like she's closer to a title shot at 115 than she is 125.
I kind of agree. If her body will do it, yeah, if the move back up was because she just can't do that cut anymore and she thinks that it contributed to her last couple losses, then no. If she thinks her body can do it, she is closer to a title shot there. A third Namajunas fight is an easy sell. Even a Weili rematch is an easy sell because their first fight was over in the blink of an eye. It's not like Weili just thrashed her for 5 rounds.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she can make it down 115 because they asked her about it this week during the media day, and she said like she said she's willing to fight at 3 different weight classes. She said 115, 125, or 135. I don't think she should go to 135, but yeah, I actually think she should go down. So what would you do with Jessica Andrade? So Both divisions are wide open. What match are you making?
I would get Andrade out of flyweight because otherwise she's just going to keep wrecking people, and you already are having trouble finding people for Shevchenko to fight. The last thing you need is like a Holly Holm just goaltending that division like Holm has Nunez's divisions. I'd send her back down to strawweight, and I think she's like one win away. Like I'm seeing like maybe the Dern Rodriguez winner.
Okay. Yeah. I came with Carlos Esparza. I'd say just put in a number one title matchup against Carlos Esparza when he gets a title shot.
I'm fine with that unless uh, Namajunas beats Zhang, because
You would sell
having
that one.
being able to make Namajunas versus Esparza for the title would be great.
Fair. Fair enough. No, that's good. Yeah. Um, so, guys, that's the main card. Let's go to the prelims. A fight that looked like it might have been fight of the night. It looked like it was going to be a slam dunk for the night. Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. And I apologize if I know I might not say his name correctly. Yeah, I understand why the main event got fight of the night. The second choice would probably going to be Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz because they tend to weigh the higher up the card, the more weight it carries. But the biggest oh shit moment, I think, was in this fight, where Marlon Moraes almost put Merab out, and Merab somehow survived. And I was in a room and people were like, "Oh my god, it's over!" They're all screaming and all like this, and I go, and me and the guy me and Chick Farm Dave that watches the show a lot, he jumps in the chat. We're hardcores, and I said, if Merab can grab him, this is going to change the fight. And he's like, I agree, we agree. And as soon as he had him for a second, and he was able to get away. Then as soon as he got double underhooks and could secure him a second, I turned to Dave and I said, Merab's going to win. And he goes, I think so too. And everyone was like, no way, he's done. And we were just like, he's going to win. And Merab just did what Merab did. And to me, two things happened to Marlon Moraes. Obviously, he gassed out, but to me, he mentally broke. Like, this is a guy he's been trying to get back on track for a long time. He was right on the cusp. Wasn't able to put him out. He was physically tired, but worse than he mentally broke. When Merab took him down, he had both shoulders flat on the ground. He wasn't scrambling. And to me, I said, he was done.
He was, and he was done to the point that Merab almost finished him at the end of that round. You could argue that he should have finished him. I thought he was out for a second. So turned a 10-8 round for Moraes into a 10-9 round, either for Moraes or for Merab, and absolutely changed the whole narrative of the fight. Like, Marlon Moraes was done after that point. He was tired, and kind of like we said about Ortega versus Volkanovski, I think both of them knew that had been Moraes' best shot.
Yeah, I don't remember who the referee was. I think it might have been Keith Peterson. I'm not totally sure. The one thing I said at the end of the first round, because, yeah, you could have made an argument that you could have stopped it from Rob. They actually showed, it looked like Marlon went out for a second from the ground when they showed it in replay. Obviously, it was slow motion. It was not as easy to see. But he was at the end of the first round, Merab was landing huge shots on Marlon Moraes. And I remember as soon as that round ended, I said, you know what? That's really – they never give him credit, but I said that's extremely good refereeing, and I'll say why. Because he had every opportunity to stop the fight when Merab was on skates, and he gave Merab a chance to fight through. And I said, no, you have to give when Marlon was eating shots, I said, you got to get – especially when you know it's close to the end of the round, you got to give Marlon the same opportunity.
Agreed.
And he did. So we never, ever, ever give referees credit. I think it was Keith Peterson. Guys,
it was Keith Peterson, and he absolutely did a good job. As it turns out, it was just delaying the inevitable because Marlon still didn't know what planet he was on a minute later when they came out for the next round. But good non-call on Peterson's part.
Yeah. So two things stood out to me. One, obviously, the toughness of Merab, and he took a huge step up in competition, got a win over a guy like Marlon Moraes, a former title challenger, former World Series of Fighting champ. I mean, a guy who's very accomplished, very, very, still, I think, is a very good win. His toughness, but I think his cardio the fact that he could wrestle him, that Royce got tired, he broke him with his cardio. But also, I think when you have such insane cardio, and I don't know if there's a science behind this, but I actually think that helps you when you get hit, when you're hurt, to survive, because your brain's going crazy, your heart's pumping, but because you have such great cardio, you can kind of control it a little better than guys who don't.
I would tend to agree, and it made it so that he could use his wrestling as a safety valve when an equally good wrestler who wasn't in as good a shape might have just failed and bailed on those takedowns and just gotten punched up some more.
Yeah. The other thing that I believe happened was all the losses recently for Marlon Rice, they all come back in your memory when you start getting tired. You start tiring, you're starting to quit, you get taken down, you're starting to get hit, all that other stuff. The second guessing, I think all that stuff. Henry Cejudo, people forget, he was piecing up Henry Cejudo. Just got knocked out by Rob Font and Corey Sant. Like, I think all those stouts are coming in, he just mentally broke.
I think you're right.
I don't want to matchmake Marlon Rice. To me, at this point, he's starting to go down the Renan Barão. I don't think he is Renan Barão, but like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if that was. I think it's clear that he should be fighting a guy nowhere near the top 15 in the next fight. But Merab, on the same sense, a big step in competition, continue moving up the ladder. I think he should be undefeated in the UFC. I just want to throw it out there. I thought he beat Frankie Saenz. I think absolutely screwed against Ricky Simone. What would you do next with him? It's got to be someone high.
Dillashaw?
Wow, you're going that high.
I mean, who else is out there that it has to be? Okay. To me, it needs to be somebody coming off a win.
Okay, you have that Joe Silva thing going. Yeah, you have the Joe Silva thing. Yeah, you tend to like. So I don't think he's gonna have the option of TJ Dillashaw because
probably not.
Well, Aljamain Sterling just pulled out, and they said they're making an interim title matchup, and I'm assuming it's gonna be Dillashaw. Just assuming, could be Rob Font or something like that. I didn't have to put him against the guy who won. I just want a guy who's higher in the rankings and a big name. So I said, you know what? I love Merab. I love his style. I'm going with the biggest name in the division. Give me Jose Aldo.
That works for me. And hey, I mean, Jose Aldo's coming off wins. Like he's won 2 in a row, right?
Did he? I honestly don't remember. God, yeah. I got too many fights in my brain.
Yeah, he beat Marlon Vera and he beat Pedro Munoz.
Oh, yes, he did beat Pedro Munoz. I forgot about the Pedro. I remember the Marlon Vera one.
Yeah. I actually like that better than mine.
Yeah, I don't know. Mauro Canizur is it? Absolutely incredible fight before that. First of all, Nasrat Haqparast. Found out his mom just recently died, so I know I can speak for both me and Ben. Condolences to the entire Haqparast family.
Yeah. Austin, wait, real quick. Austin points out in the chat, and Jay just pointed out to me through the Slack that Dillashaw just had surgery and he's out for a few months, so it might be a Rob Font title shot.
Yeah, good to it. You guys are on the ball. I mean, it's 3:18 in the morning. Yeah, I forgot. I should know. He just put it till pitches. That was absolutely disgusting. But I don't know. Is that one of these? How long is the recovery for one of these? Is it like a cleanup, or I know? And guys, by no means am I a doctor, so I don't know. Was it a major surgery where he's out for a year, or is it this like a cleanup?
A few months is what he said.
Yeah, so which would still put him on the shelf too long for that fight. If they're keeping the same date. If they're definitely keeping the same date, which it sounds like they are. So yeah, it looks like it's probably Rob Font. But you know what? Don't ever count Jose Aldo of getting the title shot. Kyle's throwing out Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think Morales passed him at this point. I get it. It'd be fun, and I'm okay if they make that matchup.
Rumored opponent for Yan is actually Sandhagen, and they're talking about Font versus Aldo.
Sandhagen? He just lost. Like
he sure did.
I mean, and I'm sorry, I blew over Font versus who?
Aldo.
Okay. So that would obviously mess up mine. To me,
I mean, Sandhagen lost a super close fight to Dillashaw, and now Dillashaw
can't do it. But he still lost.
Yeah.
Like, he did still lose. I mean, you can make an argument with anyone. I understand that. I gave it to Dillashaw, but, like, I'm okay with anybody who gave it to Sandhagen. I think you might have gave it to Sandhagen. It was extremely close as they come. But he still lost. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. But anyways, let's go back to Dan Hooker versus uh, Nasrat Haqparast. Both these guys were in a really tough situation with visas. Both showed up late Thursday night. Both made way. I actually thought they both put on a good performance. To me, there's just levels, and Dan Hooker is a freaking fit. And I just break this down. He's an MMA fighter versus a boxer. Haqparast was trying to box. Hooker was used, and this is another one I thought we both of us broke down really well. Hooker is so underrated. He loses top guys, but guys like this, he's not going to lose to. The way he uses all his limbs, knees up the middle, kicks. I love his wrestling late. He's such an underrated wrestler. Just a great, great performance from Dan Hooker. Just pillar to post, clean sweep, 30-27.
Outclassed him.
Yeah.
And nice willingness to wrestle and just throw that in as a change-up, keep Haqparast from really getting comfortable anywhere. Yeah, I mean, just outclassed him. It's kind of the same way we said about Jessica Andrade. Like, don't even bother sending anyone to that woman that doesn't have a 1 or 2 by her name.
Yeah.
I think Hooker is kind of like that for like the top 5. Like if you give him a number 12 ranked guy or whatever Haqparast was, he's gonna make him look amateurish. Like
Yeah.
depending on the style matchup.
Yeah. So every once in a while, guys, I just want to pull back the curtain. When we get a comment that might have a swear in it, we have to approve it before it goes on there. And Austin just posted. He put the name Hooker. I don't know. I think they took Hooker as a swear. So
You gotta capitalize Hooker, but
that was still funny. I just thought that was funny. Do not make fun of Dan Hooker's last name. He does not like that. Uh, so I lost my train of thought while I was talking about Dan Hooker. One thing I loved about this fight I wrote down was the pressure of Dan Hooker. Like he was forcing Haqparast on his back foot. And if you remember in his last fight, well, actually his last couple fights, he actually likes to use movement and pull people into his punishes. And then he paid the price against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler caught him. So he completely adjusted. He could change it up. And the two things I liked about it, one is obviously he learned from his loss. But two, when you have a guy who's making a step up in competition, the guy that, hey, this is my big chance. Oh, no, Austin's basically apologized. No, I think it's funny, buddy. No. So, when you're making a big step up, you're starting to question, like, am I supposed to be here? And then Hooker's putting the pressure on him, like, didn't give him a chance to rest, didn't give him a chance to, like, fend off the wolf that's coming at him. To me, it was just one of his performances that'll be forgotten in the grand scheme of the night because we had so much big things, but really one of the best performances, in my opinion, of the entire card against a guy that Haqparast I think showed that he's pretty good.
I completely agree. And it's the kind of performance that, it doesn't have an easy GIF-worthy highlight, but it's one of the ones that showed just the best overall kind of preparation and execution by the fighter.
Yeah, Dan Hooker. I'm just a Dan Hooker fan. His fighting style, his performance, his promotion afterwards. Like he called for a fight against Beneil Dariush, didn't respond to Arman Sarukian's call out, which is smart. You're ahead of him in the rankings. Don't even blow him off. Call up the guy higher than you. But I love what he said. He said something like, "You're a coward if you don't take this fight or you run from me," or something like even throwing this little challenge his character before he even gets to say yes or no. Just to me, it's brilliant. That said, if I'm Beneil Dariush, I'm feeling the same way about Dan Hooker. What Dan Hooker feels about Sarukian. Like I'm already past you, brother. Like I'm past you in the rankings. So I'm not taking that fight.
Yeah, I think Dariush is the guy closest to a title shot that hasn't been there already.
And I know this is supposed to be about Dan Hooker and not about Beneil Dariush, but if Dustin Poirier is booked against Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier gets COVID, Dustin Poirier breaks his leg, whatever. We always like to say, who's getting the next phone call? It's Beneil Dariush getting the phone. Oh, so Alan said, "You're a coward if you duck me." So that's what he said. It was a brilliant line. Is Beneil Dariush getting the first phone call? If
I think he would have to be because Chandler and Gaethje would have just fought. Okay. I mean, unless he gets injured way out.
Yeah, I'm saying say tomorrow. If we find out, he breaks his arm. Dustin Poirier breaks his arm.
Either that or they pull probably Gaethje.
Yeah, that would have to be because you can't give Chandler. But to me, that's such a banger. You don't. you don't replace that fight, and you go down next to the list.
I mean, otherwise, or if this happens late enough that Chandler and Poirier are already locked in, your choices are Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev. You're probably picking
Who's
Dariush.
also locked in with? Oh, you're saying if it's further down the line, yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming,
Yeah.
my,
But no, yeah, you're right. He's fighting RDA like
assuming
a
he
week
wins.
before. Yeah.
Assuming he wins. Um, yeah. So then, what do we do with Dan Hooker? I was circling back to Dan Hooker.
Okay. It's a shame that Dariush probably won't take it, but if I mean honestly the Dos Anjos Makachev winner would be pretty appropriate for him because anything else it is going to be a step back for him and he is going to have to listen to the
Yeah.
Arman Tsarukyan's of the world.
Yeah, but if I'm Marcus and I win, I'm doing the same thing, man. I'm looking for a title shot. I'm looking up way up in the rankings. I'm looking for Chandler Gaethje winner. I'm looking for a title shot.
Yeah, I mean,
RDA wins, that changes it.
below Tsarukyan, you're looking at I mean Brad Riddell is his teammate. He's not going to fight him. Uh, yeah.
Kyle Lougheed is throwing out Tony Ferguson's name. It can't be Tony, brother. I'm already got him matched up against Brian Ortega. Now, obviously, I'm making a joke. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those. At this division, it's hard to make. Just for my name that I wrote down, unfortunately, it's just bad timing for Dan Hooker, in my opinion. And he's only on a 1-fight winning streak. To me, he kind of has to face the Hawk guy, prospect type guy. I wrote down Gregor Gillespie. Not that Gillespie's a prospect. I mean, someone who's not viewed at the very high. I also like that Tsarukyan call out. I love if I'm Hooker what I did to ignore it, but I don't know.
Yep.
Before that, Shamil Abdurrahimov and Chris Daukaus fought, and Chris Daukaus is now 4 wins in the UFC, 4 wins by knockout. Chris Daukaus is a guy that did not come in the UFC with much hype at all, and he is getting it. I agree that he started off a little slow, but once he got locked in, he started landing his power shots. He was dropping Abdurrahimov left and right, and then finished him off in the second round. I mean, I'm biased. He's a police officer. I'm a police officer. I'm going to be biased towards him. So I'm going to take myself out of this. I'm going to strictly ask Ben. I'll ask the people in the chat, how good is this guy? Like, what is the ceiling for this guy?
I'm not sure we know what the ceiling for him is. Here's the thing. I mean, obviously he's on an incredible run. 3 first round and now 1 second round TKO over kind of sensible matchups and increasingly good fighters. And he is so different than he was 2 years ago. I mean, he is physically different. That is translated into his skills coming off differently. Yes, he is a police officer, but what I like is he's not working as a police officer.
No.
He's taken a year leave of absence, and you can tell because, I mean, you're the cop, I'm not, but I imagine it would be hard to lose what looks like 40 pounds of fat while working a full-time job and, training to be a fighter. I mean, I know that we always think of it as admirable that Stipe Miocic never stopped working as a firefighter. Chris Lytle never stopped working as a firefighter. But good for Chris Daukaus because, dude, you can be a cop until you're 65. You can be a fighter and I was going to say 35, but he's a heavyweight, so 40.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He is in his prime right now, and he is seizing the moment.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I want to point some things out. So, one, it is very hard for him to lose weight because, as a police officer, we got to eat a donut every morning. So,
he's got $50,000 to blow on donuts now.
A couple of things I just want to point out, like him leaving an absence. I don't know how it works in Philly. It must be different. Look, obviously, it's a much bigger city than where I work. Even though mine is a city, but much different than Philadelphia. But he's losing money by leaving, and he's losing good money. Second of all, there's also a seniority thing. Like I don't know how it works in Philly, but I'm assuming he doesn't gain seniority throughout that year. He probably loses seniority, so now he has guys who he's been around longer than moving ahead of him. So he really is taking a big chance by doing it. But I applaud him for doing it. And I can tell you, It's an extra 40 hours a week. It's probably an extra 50, maybe an extra 60 hours a week that he's gaining uh, to train. And I know I'm biased. I want him to do well. I like to at least share my bias, but I really do wonder. Like, I don't see a UFC champion level guy, but this is a guy that I was on the fence if he's going to beat Parker Porter. You know, sure he's fought Shamil Abdurrahimov, who is way up there in age. He's also been inactive. For, I think it was like over a year or maybe 2 years. Like it's been a while. I still have that. Is Dawkins this good, or has he kind of faced the right guys, like right place, right time? So, who should he fight next?
I like some of the names that are getting thrown out here. I mean, the Tybura Volkov winner might be a bridge a little too far, but you know, an Augusto Sakai type who, I mean, he has been a top 10 guy. He's just coming off a loss. I do that matchup.
Yeah,
I want to see, because I said on the preview, I want to know what it looks like when he gets into the second round of a fight with a UFC level fighter. I got to see that this time.
yeah.
Now I want to see what does it look like when he isn't definitely automatically the harder hitter and better striker, because Augusto Sakai is a very good striker. I want to see that. Like, will he have answers if he's not getting the best of it on the feet? That's kind of the next question for me.
Yeah, and that's the position he's kind of put himself in now. Like, yeah, I didn't think he was gonna be this level, and I don't think he's gonna be this level, and he just keeps putting himself that's the next step up. I love that he had like a list of guys. Obviously that's prearranged. You're not throwing it off the top of your head. I don't remember. Like I know Volkov. I think Volkov. Was it Volkov? Tybura winner was one of the options.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolute brilliant marketing of him calling out Stipe Miocic and saying, "Hey, let's do firefighter versus cop." Then it's not going to happen. But out of all the options, and this was simply by going down the heavyweight rankings, looking at who's booked. I'm going even higher than you are. I'll put him against Derek Lewis. Am I crazy?
It would answer the question that I wanted Sakai to answer, because Dawkins is going to go in there against, say, he goes in with against a Derek Lewis. I mean, Lewis is a very good striker.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the very hardest hitters in the division, and the most definite route to victory against him is something that Dawkins hasn't had to do yet. Like, can Dawkins wrestle if he's not the better striker?
Mm-hmm. And Lewis
really gas out.
Lewis is a much better athlete than he gets credit for. He's a very good athlete.
Good athlete, and he's better on the ground than he gets credit for.
Absolutely. Derek Lewis is a good fighter.
I mean, we'd have to agree to disagree that week, since it'd be like Houston's own hero against the cop. But mostly, I would just be sad if that actually was just a little too much too soon for Dawkins and he just got his block knocked off.
Yeah, but it's going to happen.
Because the thing is, because he came along with this kind of youth movement, there isn't as much of a rush to push him along.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden he's out there. You got Pavlovich, Romanov. I mean, Bozer's lost a couple, but Bozer's in there. Tom Aspinall was probably the star of the class.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Tai Tuivasa has kind of like turned things around and is on a 3-fight win streak.
That's another one.
Like, all these guys that are 32 or younger. Like, I mean, Cyril Gane already graduated from the class. He's now got an interim title. But because of that, we're not in the usual heavyweight situation where, like, if you win 4 fights in a row, you probably are getting a title shot next.
Yeah. The heavyweight movement, we've been stressing it for a while. It's a great movement. It's like the division has been really healthy, and its storylines, and we still have the all-time great champion and Stipe Miocic on the sidelines who could come back in the mix. Obviously, what's going on with Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane and all this, and then of course you have Mr. Money in the Bag himself. He might need that money for bail. I don't know, but John Jones. Let's breeze through the rest of these prelims. Roxanne Modafferi versus Talia Santos. To me, Santos is just good. I mean, her combination of size, power, and I like her underrated wrestling ability, which she showed really good against a good grappler against Roxanne Modafferi. She's now on a 3-fight winning streak. Like her next fight could be for the title.
It's
She's
yeah,
yeah.
it's exactly, dude. It's exactly how I called this fight to turn out, all the way down to Modafferi being on the bottom and using a Kimura to try to sweep.
There you
Like
go.
it's
There you go.
just, it was exactly the fight both of us thought. And hey, Santos, for someone I completely wrote off after she lost her UFC debut, she has 3 wins in a row against women who are not easy outs.
And look good.
And yeah,
And look
she's looking
good.
like the real deal. And I mean, I mentioned her name off the top when we were talking about Valentina.
Yeah.
And like, sure, Val would destroy her, but that's not the point anymore. She's destroying
If
everyone.
if they announce, for some reason, Valentina Shevchenko says, "Hey, I'm healthy. This main event fall down. Whatever. Say something like this happened. I want to fight real soon. Let's have a turnaround in a month." Would it shock you if tomorrow? Breaking news: Sherdog.com. We'll say Jay Petrie, of course. We'll give it to our producer Jay Petrie. And breaking news: Jay Petrie announced that Valentina Shevchenko is going to defend her title against Talia Santos. Would that shock you? I'd be
No, I mean,
I'd be surprised a little bit but it wouldn't
she's not.
shock
I mean,
me.
she wouldn't be the first call. I'd be kind of like, huh, I wonder what happened to, like Calderwood. Um, but there aren't many names ahead of her
No,
that haven't already fought.
she's short on that Rolodex. She's moving up.
Yes,
She's moving up the speed dial.
yes, definitely.
Before that, Euros Menace versus Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner, he didn't get a performance of the night, but to me, he's one of the rising stars of the night. Absolute flawless victory from him on the feet, on the ground. I love that he was going to the body. He's always had really good power, obviously, really extremely good range. Going against a long and lengthy. To me, Metis just never got going. Turner didn't give him a chance. I love that he snuck in a takedown early because you're worried about the striking of Turner to surprise him with his own offensive takedown. And now he's got 2 submissions in a row. Jalen Turner looks, and I know it's this is early fight pass prelim fight, but Turner looks like a guy who's skyrocketing.
He does. I mean, fair play. Obviously, I got 12 out of 13 fights right tonight. This was the one I got wrong, and I didn't just get the result wrong. I got the whole look of the fight wrong. Because I even said literally, like, if one of these guys takes the other down and takes advantage of him on the ground, it's going to be Medic taking Turner down.
Yeah,
I was dead wrong.
I agreed with you.
I'm still high on both these guys as prospects, but Turner answered a lot of questions for me. Like, because I think Medic is better than Brock Weaver, and I think his win over Medic was a better performance. He
Absolutely.
really appears to have developed in the year he had off.
And he mentioned that I love that he said, DC, you said I needed to work on my ground. Well, I've been working on it. I love that.
Yep.
Like, and what I love is like people don't realize like someone goes, oh, this guy sucks on the ground. He needs to work on it, and that's true, and this and that. Some guys can work on their ground game or their striking, vice versa. Where if you come from a wrestling background, striking and vice versa, or some guys can say, oh, I'm working on my cardio, I'm running, putting the extra work in. You never see an improvement, and then you have the guys who do. Not saying they don't work on it, but the guys who make the improvement. And if he's going to make these kind of improvements moving forward, and he has a room for growth, he's a scary dude. He's automatically based on his height and his reach and all this. He's going to be a tough matchup for a lot of people.
For as long as he can keep making lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, who knows
And
how that's going to be?
he's going to be a scary dude at welterweight as well. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and guys asking how he makes 155. God, if I know. I mean, he's the guy's like 6'4" or something. But
Yeah.
and before he gets a title shot, he's gonna have to win about 15 in a row before he gets a title shot in that division. Um, Cody Burns just took a fight on like 2 days' notice. Not a terrible showing, but he got just outworked by Nick Maximoff. I just wrote 2 notes of this. One, I love the way Maximoff just won inches. Like he was winning the grappling exchanges by just winning small inches, just little details he was winning. That really impressed me. And I didn't like Burns' strategy. Like he was doing well on his feet and then shooting for takedowns was almost out of habit. Like that's part of his game. He has to shoot. I felt like he just should have just kept standing up and throwing because he was doing well on the feet.
I'm completely with you there. I'm in a weird position because I was scoring round by round for Sherdog just because the other guy on the scoring team was a little late getting in, and
Mhm.
I actually scored the fight for Brundage even though I felt like
Really?
Maximov won the fight. Yeah, I gave Brundage the first and third rounds.
Oh, okay. Wow.
The first was really close, you know, and if I watched again, maybe I'd give that one to Maximov, and there wouldn't be any question anymore. Because taken as a whole, like you score at Pride rules,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Maximov
One
I thought won
championship.
the fight.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where 2 rounds were really close and one really wasn't that close, but it wasn't anything close to a 10-8 round either.
Yeah. And if you
That's
score
the
one,
fun of
if you score one championship way, then uh, Maximoff would have won, but then Brundage would have called for an appeal, and you know.
overturned it later. Yeah, absolutely.
Before that, Nick Diaz, his training partner Martin Sano, somehow got an invite to the UFC because that was the only way Nick Diaz would fight. I don't know the negotiations. He won against Matt Semmelsberger. A guy that both of us kind of seemed to like his skills. Matt Semmelsberger knocked him out 15 seconds.
And the little like feint that he used to get it to drop his guard, and then just that was about as clean a punch as you will ever see
Absolutely.
in mixed martial arts.
That
Not
looked
much
like
else to say.
Yeah, that looked like the punch where like someone sneaks up on someone and just sucker shots on. Like it was that like lined up. Uh, so what was he at? He had a 4-2-1 record heading into this matchup. He was out of competition for 5 years. He hadn't won a fight
Yep.
in like I don't know how many 7 years or something like that. Uh,
Over 7 years, yeah.
I tweeted out that there's a standard to the UFC. I mean, as we do the cut list, like if you lose a bunch, we cut you. We write, I've written articles of, who should the UFC sign and who would be good choices for the contender series. And there's a reason why there's a contender series. There's levels to, this is the highest level of MMA. Like guys coming into the UFC should not be a bargaining chip to get a guy to fight because then
No,
guys get hurt bad. Like this guy, like, Rudy Rudiger didn't get to play in the NFL because he had a nice story about him at freaking Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go off for. I mean, it's freaking 3:42 in the morning, but like, shame on like the UFC for making this matchup.
agreed. This was a bad, like, even if you're gonna stipulate that the guy doesn't belong in the UFC, this was a bad way to show him,
Can,
because you and I are both high on this guy, and he's a guy that he wasn't just gonna pity pat him to like a 30-26. He was gonna knock the shit out of him in the first round, and both of us called it.
yeah, yeah, and honestly, it was even like we both picked tremendous knockouts. We were right about that, but even 15 seconds was even
Yeah,
even
didn't call
worse.
that.
Can I do something with you that we never did before?
Absolutely.
Before we finish up the fights, can we move the cut list up to the very top? Can
Sure.
we use cut list right now?
Yep.
How many names do you have on your cut list?
One.
Martin Sano?
Yep.
Okay, me too. We never call for a guy to be cut after one fight in the UFC. These guys shouldn't be in the UFC to begin with. Like, I don't want to. I got no issue with Martin Sano. I don't know him as a person. I don't want to see this guy get hurt again. Like, he wants to get to UFC. I don't care if you use him like, hey, we're gonna work him back up, get him a couple fights at LFA. If he wins a couple, we'll put him like next season, summer's contender series, something like that. But
Dude, this is how out of it this guy is. His last win was in a promotion that doesn't exist anymore.
there you
It
go.
was in LFC.
There you go. I thought about cutting Roxanne Modafferi, but then I realized. But hold on. Then I realized I'm not a dickhead.
There you go.
Like talent wise, she's on this losing streak that I usually cut people on this losing streak. Then I'm like, it's Roxanne Modafferi. What am I thinking? Anyway, so that's our cut list, guys. We usually say it at the end, but before that, Omar Morales versus Jonathan Pierce. I'm gonna say this. I got this wrong. I got this fight wrong, but I also got Jonathan Pierce wrong. My assessment, like I feel, one of my strengths as a media member, I've always feel is I feel like I have good assessment of prospects. I feel like I can kind of do pretty well. And obviously, I'm gonna get some wrong. I'm gonna get some right. Jonathan Pierce, I'm really wrong about. I did not see a UFC level guy. When I saw him fight Joe Lozon, I thought that was confirmed. He puts a nut. Since then, he has completely changed. He got another great win over against Omar Morales, who's not a bad fighter. And I feel like Jonathan Pierce did what Merab did. Not necessarily just by the takedowns. I think he mentally broke Morales with his pace
Agreed.
and his wrestling. And I honestly felt like Morales kind of quit.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce bullied the bully because Morales is used to being the guy who's physically stronger. He doesn't always have better cardio, but he usually pushes a better pace until he can't, and he couldn't do it to Pierce. I mean, dude, everybody kind of slept on Pierce. Like, I'll blow my own horn.
Yeah.
16 people in the Sherdog pick him. I'm the only one that picked Pierce.
Oh, there
And I
you
got the Super
go.
Cojones Award.
There you go. Big
But
balls.
even there, you and I both talked about it. Like, Pierce might have a higher ceiling, and Morales, as a 36-year-old flight or featherweight, might fall off at any point. But just, is it now or is it not yet?
Mhm.
And yeah,
I feel like going forward, if Jonathan Pierce is the better wrestler, he's going to have a very good chance of winning.
yeah,
It's
yeah. His game runs on that for sure.
yeah, he's a much. I don't know what weight class is this 155,
155.
155 Curtis Blades. Like he's got to get his takedowns and.
Yeah.
Anyways, there you have it. We've covered all 13 fights. Obviously, we're much longer on the top fights. It is pay per view, so we watch a little bit longer than we normally do. Let's do the fun stuff before we get out of here, guys. We got the Bulls and the Bears, and we'll give our final grade, and then we'll give our listener of the night. We have a look. I mean, guys have been fantastic tonight. Guys, you guys are always fantastic. But Bulls and the Bears. Want to keep it negative again?
Yeah, let's keep it negative.
Do you mind if I go first?
Absolutely, go for it.
All right. So the way we do the Bulls and Bears is a stock market reference where we say whose stock went up, whose stock went down. A bear is not a good thing. You do not want to be on the Bears list. Those are the ones that went down. I have so we do hockey style. You can pick up to three people. I'll give you my three, being number one being the worst. So my number three, Cynthia Calvillo. She's lost two fights in a row. She was, 3 fights ago, she got a win in the main event. Got a little bit of hype. She was a favorite against Caitlin Chookagian, which, by the way, I thought was one of the craziest lines ever. If you remember me going back to that, like I thought Caitlin should have been a big favorite. She won easily, and then Jessica Andrade just ran through her. She showed that she's a couple steps down from the elite of the division. To me, her stock is really falling. And remember, she's a lot older than people think. Because as you mentioned, she's gotten into the sport a lot later. My number two is Marlon Moraes. I mean, he lost 4 out of his last 5. He was right on the cusp of winning, ended up losing again. If you actually want to give, like a lot of people thought Jose Aldo beat him. If that was the case, he lost 5 out of his 5, and it just looks like a continued slide. He is extremely far from like a title shot, and a guy that was a trendy pick against Henry Cejudo not that long ago. And my number one is actually going to be casual fans. And why I say that is Nick Diaz lost. Nate Diaz recently lost. Masvidal recently lost. John Jones was arrested and he lost. George St. Pierre ain't coming back. Anderson Silva ain't coming back. There's not many recognizable stars to the casual fans who are winning and doing well. Not a good night if you're a casual fan.
Absolutely not.
Who are your Bears?
I agree with Moraes big time. No need to even add anything to that. Same thing with Calvillo. I'm gonna go ahead and say Uros Medic. I mean, I think the guy has plenty of promise, but here's just hoping that if he is that kind of prospect that was just going to have one bad loss, one bad performance where he just came out totally flat and got dominated, that this was it. And this isn't just actually an indication that, okay, well, that was a ceiling, actually. Only other thing I'd add is not a great night for, Nick Diaz fight team. They went
Maximoff won.
He did, but that one was razor close, and the other two guys, it wasn't as close. So.
Yeah. Alan pointed out that Conor McGregor's coming off 2 losses and broke his leg. So I don't know. When I'm talking about casual fans, how do I forget that guy?
And embarrassed himself on Twitter tonight doing his best drunk uncle routine, making fun of Volkanovski as Volkanovski just tooled Ortega.
Yeah. There you go. Let's get to the Bulls now. These are the people who had a good night. You want to be on this list. We same thing. We do a 3-2-1 style. I'll let Ben go first.
Okay. Number three, it's going to be, it's a crowded podium for people who up their stock. But
Absolutely.
I'm going to say Chris Dawkins. Again, four straight finishes in the heavyweight division almost always means good things for your future. It's not even prospect anymore. He is a contender. He's a top 10 fighter in the UFC. Who'da thunk it? And if we don't watch it, he's going to actually end up being the smaller Dawkins brother, but like by the time he's done melting. So good work for him. Number two, Merab, you finally got that undeniable win over a top 10 fighter. I said on the preview, Marias, even if he's on a bad streak, he is a kind of name that you can start building your title contention resume on. And Merab, he didn't make it look easy, but it's almost better because he took the last thing that Marias is good at doing, which is just throwing hellacious offense in a flash. He ate it, came back, and ended up dominating. Good show of composure. Uh, Number one, there are a lot of them, but I'll just cheese out and give it to Volkanovski. Like the guy's getting booed, and getting USA chants in like his first title defense in front of like a full crowd, uh, and just put on a masterclass. At the expense of Brian Ortega, he just keeps getting better from fight to fight, and that's just another way that he again reminds me of Usman. He's just putting more and more wrinkles into his game. And I'm just excited for his next fight.
Yeah, guys are throwing out their balls. Austin gives Jalen Turner as his top pick. Allen, he doesn't have ranked, but it looks like he has Jalen Turner, so they both have Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner made my list. He was my number three, guys. Simply just not just his performance; it was absolutely flawless victory. I love going to the bodywork, but just the way he won. A guy who wasn't known for his submission skills now got back-to-back sub wins. You gotta like that. My number two is Robbie Lawler. There's a couple things. One, he got a win over Nick Diaz. It was one of his most embarrassing losses, but he's sitting on it for 17 years. Now he's even the score, so that's always good. And then there's also star power that I think will contribute to it. Yeah, it's at the end of his career, but honestly, even though Robbie Lawler has accomplished, I mean, he won the title. He's had some of the Roy McDonald fight, the Johnny Hendricks fights, the Carlos Condit. I mean, he's had historically great fights, and this one is like feels like one of his biggest wins, even though it shouldn't be. It still feels like it's one of his biggest wins. So to me, Robbie Lowe, even though he's a guy that he doesn't want the spotlight, but my number one, I'm actually in agreement with you. I'm giving it to Alex Volkanovski. He's on a 20 fight winning streak. I don't think that gets stressed enough how impressive that is. Then add the fact this is a guy that the people who don't like him categorize as a point fighter. Sure, he didn't get a stoppage tonight, but he came as close as possibly can. If he was going against other people, he may have uh, got the stoppage. Absolutely battered Brian Ortega, and I'm like, to me, he's closing the gap on best pound for pound male fighter in the world. Absolutely incredible. So I'm with you. Alex Volkanovski is my top bull. Last one. What is your grade for the card, Ben?
A plus, maybe the card of the year so far.
Wow, A plus.
I mean, in terms of relevance, two title fights, and in terms of expectations, I mean, when you have two different candidates for round of the year, like you have a fight that you're saying, man, that might have been the round of the year, and it gets superseded before the end of the night, and even the fights that weren't expected to be great were better than expectations. Like, yeah, it. I'll have to think about it, but it might be my card of the year so far.
Yeah. So uh, the reason why I said wow is I thought I was gonna be the one to like shock everyone and say I gave it an A plus too, my man. I actually agree with you. This might be the card of the year, and I actually absolutely say we're graded on the curve. The only thing that held me back a little bit was that the co-main event was a little boring, but then Shevchenko does what Shevchenko does and puts a stamp on the performance at the end. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think the main event delivered. I think the people's main event delivered. Some all-around performances. Obviously, the Moraes versus Rob fight. I'm with you, man. That was an absolute. You know what, man? I'm gonna move it down to an A because we had some technical difficulties on the recap show. As we started this, we had some technical difficulty. All on my side. Ben was great. But the toughest question to you is we had so many fantastic people, guys, chatting it up. We got our all-stars all the time. Alan McDonald, Austin, I don't know how to say his name correctly. Gianola?
Yep, Austin Janola.
Genoa, I'm sorry. Who is your listener of the night? I feel like
Man,
Alan and Austin. Like, how do you not?
Allen and Austin are, I mean, they're just holding it down like Stockton and Malone. Like, they could take this award home every night. You know, maybe Boss gets in there when he shows up. I believe Kyle Lawheed might be new.
Yeah,
So maybe more of a rookie of the night award, you know, for just jumping right in
yeah.
and giving a bunch of like interesting takes, good feedback, you
Hanging
know,
with the
just
heavy
really being
guys
part of the
too.
discussion.
Hang
Yeah.
the heavy guys too. So yeah, I'm with you, man.
Which, I mean, Stockton and Malone never had a third guy to come in and like
Yeah,
take some of the heat off. So
yeah,
we're
I'm
already
with
better
you.
than the 90s Jazz.
We'll give it to Kyle too. Kyle Lawheed. Thank you so much. You guys are all fantastic. Guys, we love doing this. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Again, that was all on my side. I got a great program, but somehow I'm screwing it up. I got to figure out how to fix it. Uh, but guys, we don't stress this enough. We really got to. We're still kind of new on doing this. We're still kind of kicking out some cobwebs and trying to fix some things. But one thing we need to do is you guys got to like, you got to subscribe, you got to share, you got to do all that. Tell your friends. Let's get this chat going. I love seeing the similar names, building camaraderie with you guys. So please share, do all that stuff. We do it every single week. If one of us on here, we either find a co-host or we do it solo. So we'll be back next week. But also in the meantime, if you for some reason like seeing Ben and I's face and you want to hear what we think before the fights happen instead of afterwards, we also do a preview show. So make sure you check those out. They air first thing Thursday morning. You should be able to find it on YouTube. If you're in Europe or Australia or something, it might be Friday or something. Bear with us. But we preview all the fights. We do what we believe is the deepest preview in the entire world. We cover every single fight. And yeah, so guys, please subscribe, like, share, tell people like, hey, the fights do not end after the main event. The fights end after the Sherdog live recap show with Ben Duffy and myself, Keith Shillan. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.